Do you know the video game Silent Hill?
Yeah.
Okay, so my opinion, I have never played Silent Hill all the way through because I'm not very good at these games. They're hard. I love the Resident Evil games. I thought those were a lot of fun, but they're hard because
they are hard.
They're hard. But Silent Hill, in my opinion, was harder, so I never played it to the point where I could beat it. But I watched a lot of videos on it because it always fascinated me.
Like gameplay and stuff?
Yeah, because also I listen to people who know more than me about this stuff talk about it because there's something so compelling about the Silent Hill and Silent Hill 2 game on PlayStation. And I just remember being like, this is unbelievable. Like the way they were able to draw the player or the person experiencing game in. Yeah. It really was dynamic, and I was like, okay, this is how you can do horror in another medium, because this is like, you can watch the game being played and feel scared, but like there's something about you playing it really puts you in a whole other headspace. And the game plays with the way that you act in the game. So if you do certain things because of your reaction to something, it will fuck with you more. Yeah. So apparently I watched this thing about how apparently they programmed a thing where like there's this one room in the game where you go in and it's like this decrepit bathroom in this prison cell, or this prison, you go into this rundown bathroom and it's disgusting, and you're compelled to check the stalls because why the fuck not? So you check one stall and it says locked. You check another stall, it says locked. Third stall, right? You're going to check it, but it's going to say locked. But you check it and all it says is you hear a noise from behind the door and you're like, ooh, I'm going to get the fuck out of here. So if you click the run button and you run, right before you get to the door, it triggers the sound that sounds like a crashing sound with like a demonic whatever. And as soon as you get to the door and you click it to go through the door, you hear that sound. You're like, oh, fuck. Mm-hmm. But you're like, I'm not going back in there. That's a fucking monster in there, right? No monster. It just triggered that sound effect because it knows you're running away. Uh-huh. So it fucks with you. But if you didn't run, it wouldn't do that. Yeah. That's amazing. So it's like it fucks with you because you're reacting to the way that the game is giving you these situations. So it's kind of brilliant, like to me.
Cool.
Anyways, what my point is Silent Hill was inspired by Jacob's Ladder.
Okay.
The guy who created it said the way that Jacob's Ladder handled psychological horror is what directly inspired Silent Hill.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's a lot of history there.
Yeah. It's a good game, man. The movie's scary too.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I saw that.
Done.
I saw it back in the day. Yeah, it was you know what part I'm talking about, the fucking
I can't remember it. I just remember how interesting it was when it would
disgusting.
Like just the whole concept of like the time shift.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, go into like the whatever the fucked up world.
Yeah, you're kind of lost in a different time.
Yeah.
Because you're in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
no, I forgot what this thing, because the game is abstract. Like it doesn't really explain it. It's
almost like you're in the head of purgatory of this town.
Yeah. Right? So what's interesting in a way to think about
it is like another dimension, so to speak.
Yeah. And there's also ways of, okay, so do you know David Lynch at all?
Yeah.
Sort of like that. Like David Lynch always leaves a lot of his things open-ended. Like he doesn't answer questions because your mind goes fucking wild trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like,
you know, I understand like people like David Lynch and stuff, and people like that who don't have a real cohesive story, but they've got like really strange like ideas for how a normal event would happen.
Yep.
And just throws that at you and like, oh, well, that was a cool scene. We're moving on to, you know, and then they don't really know how to connect it to everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's weird because like sometimes like an artist's like instincts, like, oh, make this kind of weird, and then later on not do something else that has nothing to do with what had just happened. It's like sometimes I was like, those people can make a good story, but it's not as cohesive. And then you got artists, writers who make a really cohesive story, right? Very linear, and you understand everything that's going on, but just less memorable.
Yeah.
Less memorable, and because it's not as like...
yeah. Well, it's because there's so much nuance to it. Like, to actually pull off what Lynch does, like, it's like, I'm also in the boat of saying Lynch is slightly overrated. Like, I don't want to get fucking crucified on the fucking film cross for this, but
don't care.
But there is, like, certain movies of his that I really feel are phenomenal, and I also think that some movies are just like whatever. But I will say though, like the nuance that you have to add to the equation if you want to go this route is kind of like everybody trying to be Tarantino back in the day, and then
Right.
nobody could be Tarantino, and they couldn't figure out why. They're like, "Well, I'm telling my story out of order and all this shit, and making dudes in suits shoot each other." Like, there's more to it than that. You have to like distill it down. Like, there's an advertiser term if you're into like being an advertising person. Like, you have to distill the idea, distill. Like, keep going down to like what the root of the idea is. And so,
I hate my father.
trust me, girl, I know. But no, so basically the idea of how to achieve these things is like, you have to like see like, well, maybe my idea isn't this, you know. I want to be cool like David Lynch, but maybe my story doesn't call for it. Because like,
Sure.
do you remember the movie Lost Highway from David Lynch? Do you ever see that?
I didn't see it, no.
It's a good, that's the one I actually liked a lot, because there is something very fascinating and compelling about it. And it's also just pretty creepy. Like, it's just a creepy movie. Like, because basically though, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but basically the idea of it is this guy is having an affair with somebody, and this random person knows that he's having an affair with somebody else outside of his marriage, and he films him getting, you know, going into the house, and films him having sex with the girl or whatever through the window. And I can't remember the details, but basically he meets this person, he gets mailed a videotape, and he opens it up and plays it, and it's like the beginning part of this thing. And so he's like trying to figure out like, what the fuck, who knows this about me, or who has the motivation to ruin my life, or you know. And then all this other weird shit happens, but it's like there's always this like moment of compelling you forward where you're like, who does that, or like, what is the point of this, or what is, and it's like it keeps you locked in, and it keeps giving you like little hints, and then your mind's like kind of twisted trying to figure it out. There's something about it that's so cool. And anytime I think like, oh, that's easy to achieve, you just have to like feed the viewer like little bits and then have like this great twist. And it's like, yeah, if you say it like that, then yeah, it's easy, but it's not that easy if you try to plug in characters that people care about, and you plug in like performances that work in a realistic space, and you plug in, you know, the ways this goes about it, like pace wise, in a reasonable pace that makes this, you know what I mean? There's all these like little elements that have to work to make it that.
Right.
So I don't know. But then there's David Lynch movies like, what was it? Inland Empire. Do you ever see that one? Whew, buddy. It's 3.5 hours long, and that shit is rough. It's not easy to watch, and it's not fun.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like,
you know,
God.
yeah, some people have that ability to make a really soundproof story, and you understand everything, and then some people just don't. But it's like it's like some writers are more poet than prose, right? So when they write poetry, it could be so abstract you don't understand what the hell's going on, and it's like, okay, cool, but if you're not into that, it's not. You know, you're not going to understand that. And it's hard to, like, turn a poem into a story. Yeah. You know, that's, like, understandable and, like,
yeah, because, I mean, you know, poetry, I mean, it's like, it's the same thing with, like, fine art, painting and stuff like that. Like
you're just doing something different.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, because the thing is, like, a lot of people wonder, like, you know, how do I build an audience if I'm a street artist, or well, I mean, shit. I mean, it's really anything, I guess. It could be DJs or whatever. But like, you have to be a compelling person that people want to invest their time and, you know, effort and money into. And then your creation, like whatever it be, like a painting or a poem or whatever, then it's like part of your creativity that they care about. And then there you go. It's like, that's part of how to build yourself as an artist. So, you know, you have to have a reason to people to care about you, you know?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, Silent Hill was kind of like that. It was a little abstract too. Kinda threw random stuff at you, and you didn't know what the fuck. And it was more like, it was scary. It kind of made sense in that world, but you have no idea what that is, like where it came from.
Yeah, because there's always this vague sort of foundation that nobody really knows where it came from. So.
And the creatures that were like,
so here's the thing.
Like, you know, they were like, they would have their faces covered, right?
Yeah.
Their eyes covered.
So here's the thing: the movie got wrong, because I'm invested in this genre, or in this franchise a little bit.
Yeah.
Specifically 1 and 2, the games, like Silent Hill 1 and 2, because I was really into those games. The movie got wrong is they put the creatures from Silent Hill 2 and the environment and world of Silent Hill 1. So here's why it doesn't work. Because in Silent Hill 2, the story is you're James Sutherland, and your character, the whole game starts off with you at a rest stop outside of Silent Hill. You got a letter from your wife saying, "Hey James, I miss you and I want to meet you in our special place in Silent Hill." And he says, I got a letter from my wife and I need to be here for some reason. I don't know why I'm here, because my wife's been dead for 3 years. That's how it starts up. So that's like, oh, okay.
Is this the same character from the... No, different characters.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the game itself, and this, I'm going to try to distill this down because it's a long explanation. But basically, you kind of get the vibe that he doesn't know why he's there. Because he knows his wife is dead, but he got a letter. Is he crazy? I don't fucking know. Let's just go there anyways to find out. So he goes to the town. He meets a few people that are also a little fucked up. And as he goes along, he finds these like demonic sort of creatures and going deeper and deeper, trying to figure out where his wife is. And he meets somebody, this woman who's like young and hot, and he looks exactly like his wife. Exactly like her, but it's not her. There's like slight differences. And she's kind of like leading him along a little bit, like he's wondering why she's there. She's like, I'm lost too, I don't know where I'm at or whatever. So there's all these like characters, and then the enemies of the game are like nurses, and then there's like the pyramid head.
Yes, the pyramid head guy.
So this is all from that game. So here's what it is. The actual story, spoiler alert, is that James in the game, his wife Mary was sick and she got cancer and she was dying, and he had to take care of her. And basically over time, she was not recovering and she was doing worse. So James kills her. Like he suffocates her and kills her because he doesn't want her to live anymore because of her pain. But also it gets revealed through audio tapes that he's hearing in his head near the end that it's actually because he hates the fact that she's sick. Because he hated her for being sick, because it made him now dedicate his life to taking care of her, that he had no way to have any kind of sexual pleasure of having a wife. He couldn't cheat on her because that's fucked up. And it's just him being furious with his life that he's now has this sick, dying wife that doesn't want to go and let him move on or whatever.
Right.
So basically the story is this guy is revisiting this thing that torments him, that he killed his wife, and he's reliving all these reasons why he definitely treated her like this. She didn't deserve this. But so all these creatures in this game are like in his head. The nurses are representative of the sexual tension that he has, that he can't, the urges that he can't fulfill.
Do they tell you this in the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like, not like they're like, hey, this is what happens, but like you figure it out over time. Like you kind of get the vibe. So, and also the creator of the game went on an interview and talked about it.
Oh, okay.
So the nurses
but until you heard that interview, did you catch this?
Didn't catch it, but it makes total sense.
Okay.
So the so the nurses represent the sexual like frustration that he has for not being able to fulfill his sexual fantasies, and also the nurses because she's in this house. So the nurses he finds are hot or whatever.
Got it.
The pyramid head represents the punishment for his guilt. So in the game, all the things that he loves, like this Maria person, this one who looks just like his wife, dies multiple times throughout the game.
Okay.
Like she gets stabbed by the pyramid head. She gets thrown off this thing. Like it just keeps dying. But for some reason, like later on, you'll find her again. She's fine. But like for some reason, it's like, it's so cerebral. It's really weird. And then there's like this little girl who makes fun of him, and it represents like him not having any children.
Okay.
And how this girl's like making fun of him for being a piece of shit. So it mocks him for not being able to have children because his wife died. So there's like all these things that mean something to the story of that game.
Yeah.
But then the first game is totally different, which takes place in there, and they lost their daughter or whatever, who's like part of the cult now. So the first game is like the setting of the movie, but they put all the Silent Hill 2 monsters in there. So as a fan, I'm like, damn it.
And
it doesn't make sense.
And it doesn't make sense in the movie.
Doesn't make sense in the movie either.
Yeah.
But it's scary, so whatever. Fuck it. Like, I'm not going to complain. I'm not that big of a stickler, but like...
But the thing about Silent Hill is it kind of worked.
Yeah.
Because...
Oh, it's creepy.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird, and there's really no creepy, like, real base to, like, judge all this stuff off.
And those characters were, like, new. You know, you'd never seen characters like that before.
Exactly. So it works. I mean, as I said, I liked the movie. I thought it was good. I saw it in theaters, and I remember just being like, this is awesome.